right, we are talking with comedian Stuart B. Thompson. Stuart, how you doing, man?
Life's good, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I hope you don't hear the dogs barking in the background.
I do, but I'm just glad that the dogs are being dogs. Honestly, I
I
I've been on a lot of calls where people are like, I hope you're not hearing my animal be the animal that it is. It's like, no, it's okay.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah, occasionally when I'm at home, my cat will meow because she wants attention, and it's like, you know
Mhm.
what? This is the world we live in.
Exactly. So we're talking because you recently had a video that
Hmm.
you uploaded about, I want to say a week ago, and it's been going viral. So, yep, but before we get there, tell
Hmm.
us about yourself, who you are, and how long have you been doing comedy?
So I'm a comedian. I tour around the country, around the world, and I've been doing it for next month. It'll be 14 years since I started.
14 years.
Hmm. Yeah. So it's funny with these when a video or some piece of art does gets a lot of shine or a lot of acclaim, and people are like, this person came out of nowhere. It's like, no, we've been around, and and it's just sometimes it's hard to tell when something is going to hit. And I put something up with the intention of people seeing it, but we never know how it's going to be received, and that's kind of the miracle of making art.
Yeah,
So
and that's the
pretty
beauty
wild.
of living in the social media age nowadays, because
Yeah, I've been watching my friends and my peers, start to build up a following through social media, and I've had moments where I've been really resistant to putting things up on social media. Not too long ago, the prevailing, feeling around social media and putting up stand-up clips was like, you should only put something up if it's finished.
right.
And because I don't know if it's because like our attention spans just aren't anything anymore. Like we just don't have the ability. There's just so much stimulus coming into our eyeballs every day
Hmm.
that we just don't have the ability to, process something as like, oh, I think I've seen this bit before. I've seen this comedian before. I think we just have too much stuff going on. So now it's just like people are just, putting stuff up because they want to capitalize on a moment, or they're trying to game this, elusive algorithm that we're all party to.
I think it's a little bit of both, because I think that's the beauty nowadays of being able to share anything. Anyone can just see what you're talking about with the click of a button. But at the
Hmm.
same time, it is like you got to make things really, really quick and to the point. Otherwise, you're just going to lose the interest. So let's go
Yes,
ahead and talk about this particular story. So
sure.
you went to El Paso
Yeah.
and you went to this place called Ojos Malos.
Ojos locos.
Ojos Locos, sorry.
Yeah.
That's Crazy Eye. So,
Yeah.
um, explain to anyone who may not have heard about this story exactly what happened.
Yeah. So I was performing at the El Paso comic strip, and when comedians perform shows, or when I perform shows, I'll speak for me.
Hmm.
I get, it's an adrenaline rush. That's why I still do stand up. It's because I get not just the feeling of connecting with an audience, but it kind of gets me hyped up. And I'm not really ready to crash out right after the show. So oftentimes, if I'm with a headliner, I was the middle act. You go to a comedy club in most parts of the country, there's going to be three acts. There's the host, who's the opening act. There's the feature act, that was me that weekend, and then there was the headliner. So I was with the headliner, and we decided to, we were invited to go hang out with some audience members after the show, and they seemed nice enough. So we went across the strip mall area, and we went to this, you know I could only describe it as, to people who are not familiar with it, as a Mexican Hooters. That's kind of that was the vibe that it felt like to me. And it had all the trappings of that type of restaurant. There was a lot of Latino people, a lot of cleavage, and you
Hmm.
get it.
Yeah.
And uh And so I've, what also kind of drew me to it, or what I found compelling was that, they were not, it was not just, a Latino themed Hooters just because there was a lot of Latino people there. They were also, playing, on the soundtrack of the restaurant was, catering to that demographic. They were playing that, ranchero, that,
Hmm.
that very dramatic type of music. And to the point where, and if you're mixing that ranchero music with a lot of drinking, you're gonna get, you know Mexican American men, starting to do things like a grito. And
Hmm.
so in the bit, when I tell the story, I do my attempt at a grito, and I keep in mind that, the video that can see online, that is not the first time I've done that bit.
Okay, I had a feeling it wasn't the first time, but it
But just
certainly was
to
the most popular one of
Yeah,
you
but
doing
yeah,
it.
so it was, and usually when I would do this bit, people are just kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but they're just like, they didn't, it's not what they expect me to be able to do given my look.
Right.
If I do, I present white, I sound white, I don't look like I have any connection with Latino culture,
Hmm.
but I do to a degree. I speak Spanish. I've been I tutor Spanish to students. Like I'm very familiar, and I played soccer my whole life, so I've been around Spanish speaking people for a long time. So
Sure.
anyway, I do the bit, and most of the time people are just kind of, surprised that I can do it. But this one time, this is the only time this has happened, and I'm so grateful that it was caught on video. A woman in the audience was just like, "No,
Yeah, no.
this ain't it."
And then
And
she went ahead and she did her version.
yeah, and I'm just grateful, because when there's a lot of clips that people can go see on the internet that
Hmm.
involve a comedian interacting with an audience member. It's very compelling. It's a singular moment, and it might not ever be seen again. And that's why we go see live comedy shows. That's why we go see any live show. It's that, that unique moment that might not happen any other time.
Hmm.
And sometimes a comedian can get very aggressive with an audience member because of their temperament, because of just like how they're feeling that day. For me, I'm just so grateful that I was able to engage with that audience member and try to have a little bit of empathy for her and say, like, okay, that's not working for you. Well, do you have something better? Do you have something to contribute? Do you want to share with the class?
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful she was a good sport. I forget her name. I talked to her briefly after the show and said and shared my appreciation for her being willing to participate, because people sitting in a comedy show, they don't always want to participate. And
Right.
I'm not encouraging anyone who goes to see a comedy show to participate any more than laughing and not laughing.
Right. You're not
That's
encouraging any heckling or anything.
I'm not encouraging it. I do not do comedy with the intention of talking or hearing about what an I barely do any crowd work.
Hmm.
That's kind of the crazy thing, is like this is a rare moment for me. But I do love being able to do crowd work where someone responds to something I did in a unique way, and then we can have a conversation.
Hmm.
But I don't engage with crowds to be like, how long have you been together? Like, is this a first date? Like, I honestly don't care.
Right.
We can and I hope the date goes well. I hope your marriage continues to last if that's what you want it to do. But
Hmm.
like, we can do all that after the show. i
Right.
came
Exactly.
I came to the show with things to say.
Hmm. Well,
I prepared.
I'm glad you brought up that the same person who actually, did her grito actually came up to you
Hmm.
after the show. That kind of leads into my next question is, once that video, got posted onto TikTok, onto
Hmm.
YouTube and your Instagram, what was the general like reaction to, like, from the audience about this video? Like, how did
Yeah,
people
so
respond?
I think what helped is that, like, it's a relatively positive moment, and her grito was noticeably better than mine. And
I
I said,
mean, your Grito was pretty good. I'm being
it's,
honest. It's
thank you.
good, but
That's very
her
kind.
Grito was, I'll be honest, was probably more of like the traditional Grito sound.
Yeah, and she's a very, she's a petite woman. I think
Hmm.
she had the capacity for a vocal range that hits octaves that I just don't have the ability to hit.
Right.
Since I was, 12. So,
Hmm.
and so anyway, and the crowd went, responded very positively to it. So I think the way I have it cut, I tried to just like, get rid of any unnecessary words or pauses just to fit it all in
Hmm.
to, the format. But, it did, I'm trying to have a better relationship with social media where I just post things and then I sort of set it and forget it. So it's not like governing my thinking all day.
Sure.
But I checked on, the usual apps because I posted on everything just to try to give it the widest reach possible. And like, on Facebook is like, okay, and Twitter is like, okay, and
Hmm.
Instagram was like, okay, we got some likes, this is nice. And then I checked TikTok and then it's like 500,000 views in a day. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is why my friends use this app sometimes. It's
Right.
because,
Exactly.
it just has this ability to reach people. And I think from what I understand about using social media, particularly TikTok, is there's like a few things that if you hit these sort of like qualifications or like topics of being like educational, entertaining, or inspiring, if you can hit any of those things, then I think those are the things that I've noticed end up on my For You page. So I think the fact that it was entertaining and it was a little bit educational, and it was an overall positive interaction. It's not a comedian destroying heckler moment.
No,
I,
not
I
at
don't,
all.
I don't really have a tendency to destroy hecklers. I validate their concerns
Hmm.
and I accept cultural accountability and we move on. So I think because those things that might have helped algorithm wise, but I'm just grateful that people found it interesting, and I'm grateful that people were willing to give it a like, give it a comment, save it to their favorites, and share it with other people, because it feels like the entire city of El Paso responded to the video. That's what it felt like from my end, because there were so many people saying like, I'm from there, I've been there, I took my grandpa there for his birthday. It's like, what? It's like, it's like, you got a fun grandpa, dude. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh, trust me. If you've ever been in El Paso for a week, you'll find out there's a lot of interesting characters in El Paso alone, and I'm sure you've probably met a lot of interesting characters in California too.
sure.
I'm just speaking from my personal experience. There's a lot
Yeah,
of interesting stuff that you can find, where I live.
I'll bet. Yeah, and I got to the beauty and the curse of doing stand up is I get to be in these towns on a weekend a lot of the time. So I get to be there during the fun part of the week. But
Hmm.
it's only, 2 to 4 days at most. It's rare that I'm in town for like a whole month, so I get to see like all the things that a town can offer. I might miss the farmers market because I was out till 2 the night before. Like,
Right.
I might miss the first Friday's street fair in one neighborhood, but like, I get to see people being out, and sometimes I get to see people act a fool, and sometimes I get to see people be genuinely fun. So, and it also, I also have the limitations of having, uh, sometimes having and sometimes not having a car. So I may be only limited to like where the hotel where I'm staying, the comedy club where I'm performing, and the surrounding few blocks.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's where Ojos Locos was.
and I was about to ask you too. Do you have any other stories from the last time you were in El Paso, or is that the one that just sticks out in your mind?
That's the one that's funniest for stage.
Hmm.
That's the one I talk about the most. But what I do, I'll tell you about that weekend because I've only been to El Paso that one weekend, and that was like a few years ago.
Okay.
And I'm just grateful that I'm looking forward to coming back. And my hope is that when I come back, these people who saw this video are willing to come see me. I would love to connect with these folks in real life, or IRL, as the children say. And
Yeah.
so I'll tell you more about that weekend. I remember, what if you're not familiar with like the machinations of a comedian performing on a weekend. Usually, shows are typically like Thursday through Saturday or Sunday. So it ends up being like 5 or 6 shows at the same venue, and there's 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. But the first one's on Thursday, and then on Friday the comic will go do radio spots.
Mhm.
At anywhere from like 1 to 3 radio stations, sometimes a local news station. And so the comic does the show from like 8 to 10 o'clock on Thursday, and then they have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, or 5:30, because someone from the club is picking them up to drive them around all these radio stations. So we have to learn how to turn it on and perform and be engaging really early in the morning.
Mhm.
So I remember we went to the radio station. I can't remember. It was Buzz Adams' show.
Yeah, that was KLAQ.
Oh, is Buzz Adams still doing KLAQ?
Oh yeah, he's been there
Great.
for
Okay.
30 years. Yeah.
Great. I wasn't sure if he was with KLAQ or with like a rival station, so I wasn't sure if it's like
No, no,
you
no,
can't
no.
mention a competitor or something like that.
Oh no, you can make a
Okay.
mention about other radio
Great.
stations, but yeah, Buzz is KLAQ. He has been for the last 30 years. So yeah, he's
Right.
still there.
And what really struck me about this, Buzz in the city of El Paso, is that like Buzz is like a local celebrity, and there's not a lot of cities, in my experience, where the local radio DJ and morning show host is well known in the city
Mhm.
in that way, like to the level that Buzz is in El Paso. So he had us on, and his one of his co-hosts, Nico Ajemian, who's a local
Mhm.
comic in El Paso, really funny dude. I think he was taking us around, and we were getting settled in with Buzz's show. I was with the headliner, Ahmed, another very funny comic. Um, and the other guest was an adult film actress. I cannot remember her name. But I remember she was the other guest. And so there was that fun dance at a morning radio show, or any radio show, where you have someone whose content it's difficult to speak about. You kind of got
Right.
to dance around linguistically in a radio format. So it's like, so what do you do? And it's like, well, how are we going to talk about this? So,
Right, exactly.
but anyway, that adult film actress was on tour, much in the way that a stand-up comedian would be. She was touring around the country, but where she was performing was a local strip club.
Mhm.
So where she was performing was a place called the Red Parrot, which is
Yep.
kind of on the outside of town in El Paso.
Yep, right outside El Paso and Horizon, just right around that area. Yep.
Got it. Okay. So, we were I guess we were trying to like coyly ask her about, how she plans to perform, or like, does she have any like, you know, skills that she, uh, puts into effect during her show, and, how she makes her show particularly fun. And, I, so anyway, we were murmuring about, maybe we should go see her perform. And because she was doing, kind of like a comedian, she was doing 2 sets a night
Right.
at the Red Parrot. And so Buzz came to our show at the club on Friday or Saturday night, and we decided to go, to make our way out. Buzz, I think someone was willing to drive us, and we make our way out. And I'm not a strip club guy. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I think there are some people who really come alive or get this rush being in a strip club. And, I love that there's an avenue for that for them.
Right.
I don't get that same rush. It's just, I go to the strip club kind of in the same way that I go to the zoo. Like, I'm there to observe the animals
Right.
in their in this,
In their own natural habitat.
yeah, or as natural as we can make it.
Yeah.
It's not really natural, but it's like, but this is the
Right.
habitat, this is the terrarium that they're in right now.
Right. Exactly.
So I go and I also don't go to strip clubs a lot because I don't have a lot of disposable income to spare
Hmm.
on, I'm putting most of my extra income into my business to just keep growing it. So, but I'm there. I'm trying to be. I'm hanging out, and we managed to say hi to the adult film actress, uh, and she was very kind and appreciated that we came to the show. And yeah, she did her two sets, and I remember there's the Red Parrot's pretty sizable venue. There's like a big balcony where you can kind of look out over the whole landscape, kind of like the way Mufasa and Simba look out from Pride Rock, and like, oh,
Exactly.
someday all this land will be yours, like that that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this landscape, and sometimes there's a funny thing about a strip club where sometimes you'll see a man who looks, it's hard to tell like the level of sad and lonely he might be, but like he's definitely putting that vibe out there. Sometimes they're putting out like if I wasn't here, I'd be tying women to railroad tracks, or
Oh,
dumping
jeez.
them in the ocean.
Yeah.
Real villainous, real Dexter kind of vibes.
Oh, I thought he was gonna have like the twirly mustache, kind of
Well,
dastardly villain.
that guy's there too, but I sadly, those kind, not a lot of these guys are reading GQ magazine. So
That's true.
uh, I mean, I hope the word gets out there, but uh, I can't make everyone read everything. So sometimes you'll see a guy like monopolize a stripper's time
Hmm.
when she's performing, and there was this guy who had, he looked like Jeffrey Dahmer now, like an
Oh
old,
gosh.
like if Jeffrey Dahmer like never went to prison and just like kind of like retired to West Texas, like that's
That's what
kind
he
of,
looks like.
yeah, he had the glasses and he had just like the no life in his face, but he's just kind of throwing money at this woman, and she is appreciative of
The
his
patronage.
patronage. Yes. and and she's giving him a show, but it's like he's kind of it's he hasn't he's like kind of cornered her in this weird way, and like everyone's kind
Hmm.
of like giving them room. And yeah, it's just seeing someone just with glasses, just with no expression whatsoever, just throw
Just
money. It's
making it rain up in here.
Yeah, it's a real sad rain that it's watching from afar. I hope he's
Right.
enjoying it. I hope she's enjoying it. I hope everyone involved is enjoying it. But from
Yeah.
afar, it's it's hard not to watch it with this like I'm David Attenborough in Planet Earth. It's like majestic. Look at look at her dance across the stage.
I
Oh, a suitor.
I gotta tell you right now, man. Next time you come to El Paso, you gotta do more of impressions. I love them.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And by the
Um,
way, and yeah, anyone who's seen his Mexican Hooter story on Instagram or TikTok, watch part two. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Thank you. Yeah, that's that. The bit is longer than just me doing the grito. I'm not just doing
Of
it just to
course,
say I saw it. And now what I do is I kind of say like that's the voice I use when telemarketers call me,
exactly.
because this is how, because I don't know about you, do, but I get hundreds of robocalls every week.
Hmm.
And like it was a truly sad day when telemarketers somehow got the ability to call our cell phones.
Yes.
Like the only reason why people had a landline was to screen telemarketer calls. Like you can call there, and then but once we
Hmm.
all got rid of our landlines, now they call our cell phones, and I'm trying to get these people to stop calling me. So I do a voice. So whether you can do a grito or whether you can do another voice, there's options. So there is a part two where you can see some impressions.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Was there more to the story? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, there's a little bit more. The one thing, other
Okay.
thing I really noticed about the red parrot, and I don't know if this happens at other strip clubs, but I noticed that when people put their money in, they it would give back your money in $2 bills,
Okay.
and which really fascinated with me. I don't know if the red parrot still did it, but I remember seeing an obscene amount of $2 bills. Like, is this where all of them are in circulation now? Like, is it just here?
This is where all the $2 bills come from?
This is where all the Jeffersons go? Okay.
Okay.
So, and it seems like an ingenious idea for a strip club to employ, because when you're making it rain twice as hard with every toss of 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 bills. You think you might be throwing $50, you're really throwing out $100.
Right.
And then you also have to spend all those twos at the strip club, because if you have a partner at home who doesn't know you're at the strip club, you can't come home with a wad of twos, because
No.
where the hell else would you get that?
Yeah. Where were you last night?
What's with all these twos? You were at the Red Parrot last night, weren't you? It's like, no,
Exactly.
I was at the one bank that still has all these twos at 3 a.m.
Right. That's exactly where it was.
Yeah. So that was my Red Parrot experience.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Well,
So
I know we're getting close to, we got to wrap up our interview in a little bit. But before I do, I had at least two more quick questions
sure, sure.
to give you. So I do know you're a voice actor. You're
Hmm.
more than just a comedian. You've actually done the Spanish dub of, I want to say, it was the Nick Jr. show.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, it was called Hobby Kids Adventures.
have you done any more voiceover work in your career?
No, I haven't. It was really just that one job so far. My hope is to do a lot more voice acting, because one, I love to do characters in my act, and I'm happy to do more Spanish dubbing. My friend was, producing the Spanish dub, and it's really fun to get to just be in a booth and just kind of like see the script and see what they want you to say, and like try to fit that into like a character. And with cartoons, they do modulate your voice a little bit sometimes, but like they say like go higher voice. It's like it's like it's fun to get to like become some other person, just by reading stuff off the page.
Exactly. That's true. All right. Well, I know we're going to get to the end very soon, but I do have to ask, have you worked on your grito?
I have been working on it a little bit, because I've gotten enough like stitched videos from other people showing theirs, and I I don't going to try to not. Do you want me to try it for you? Is that what you're hoping for?
I would love to hear it.
Okay, all
I
right. Let
would
me
love
see.
to hear it.
I'm gonna bring the mic a little far away
Okay.
from my face, so I'm not. So if I can't hear you for a hot sec, just give me a sec,
Okay.
because I got earbuds. But
Sure.
let me give it a shot. So let's see how it plays out.
Alrighty. Oh wow. I mean, I think it's a very loud. I
It does
think
cut
what
out a little bit.
it cuts out a little bit, but I think what this means, we're gonna have to actually watch you do this the next time you come to El Paso.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm open. If people are willing to come see me, I will come. I will absolutely come, and I will set something up. So
Absolutely.
hopefully we can set something up for April, May, or June. I would love to come back, and I'd love to see people who saw the video. So check my website for updates about my shows. If you want to get on my mailing list so you can get an email about it, I'm happy to. It's all on my website. You can just go to the contact page.
All right, excellent. Well, I really appreciate your time, Stuart,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you uploading the video so that people can actually not only see your amazing comedy, but just hear about the craziness that can happen in El Paso, but in a positive way. It's not just the bad stuff; it's funny stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, every city, I believe, has its charm. and that's what I've learned doing stand up. And I performed stand up all over the world. I performed in, 9 countries. I performed in more than half the states in the US, and I really believe that every town has its charm. Sometimes the charm is there is no charm. But I didn't get that with El Paso. There's a lot of really lovely people, and you know, not everyone is I'm willing to believe that not everyone's going to be a fan of mine. I know I'm not for everybody, but I know I am for some people, and I'm really glad that people resonated with my experience in the video. And but yeah, I would love to come back, and hopefully I can see you. Hopefully I can see other folks. Hopefully I can reconnect with Buzz and Nico and all the other folks there. And but yeah, if people want to find out more about what I'm doing, my website's stuartthompsoncomedy.com. That's Stuart. And I'm on most social media platforms at Stuart B. Thompson. So that's where they can hear about anything I'm doing, especially coming back to El Paso.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate it, Stuart. Thank you very much for your time, and we really do look forward to seeing you hopefully come back to El Paso in the very near future. Thank you, Stuart.
Thanks, Daniel.